We have big news in the silver market, in the gold market. $500 silver. It's going to happen at some point. Either $500 silver or $10 silver at some point. We can't guarantee a lot now, can we, guys? But we can guarantee that at some point in the future, there will be $500 silver, maybe $5,000 silver. We're going to talk about how that could come into fruition, but could we get $10 silver first? We don't want to hear about that now, do we? Thank you all for being here. Thank you for the thumbs up. Don't forget when you log on, press the thumbs up. You can get it out of the way, and I won't have to beg you. So thank you for doing that. But what else is going on in the market right now? We need to talk about a burning bonfire. I just got finished with a unbelievable interview. I have some information that I'm going to share with you from a conversation I had with Greg Weldon from Weldon Financial. He was a gold trader on the floor at the COMEX. That's where he started his career, gold and silver trader. And he's got a lot to say about what's going on in the world. He worked for a couple of the world's biggest hedge funds. He worked for a couple of the world's biggest financial services companies. Okay, he works for himself now, and he can say what he wants, and he's a super smart, super nice person who shared some great information that I'm going to share with you, basement dwellers, and then you can watch the interview in a couple days. We got big news out of Fortuna Silver. We got big news out of Pimbex, our sponsor. Okay? Hey, look, let's just get this out right now. We have a big giveaway. Do you want this? Do you want this? I'm telling you, you want this thing. It is absolutely beautiful. No, I do not get a commission from selling you this. I am telling you, I have held silver in my hand for years and years. This is one of the most beautiful silver products I've ever held. It's a Geiger 10-ounce silver bar. And Pimbex sent us that because we're having a big giveaway on Valentine's Day, which is 5 weeks from today, I believe. And we're giving away this and some other really cool silver products, some 4-ounce silver bars. One has the US dollar on it. One has the Serenity Prayer. And we've got some other silver bars that Jim M. gave to us. JB also contributed. So go check out the giveaway video. I'll tell you how to do that later on. Let's get started right now. There's a lot happening, okay? I warned last year, we talked about this, basement dwellers, that we could have a beginning of the year beatdown in the silver price and gold price. The silver price right before I came on, $23 per ounce, give or take a little bit. Gold around $2,030 per ounce, okay? We're having the beatdown right now. It's not been a good start of the year. What is today, the 10th? Yes. January 10th. It's not been a good 10 days. Not catastrophic, but it feels like it feels worse than it's been. Okay, that's what we need to remember. We need to remember they're giving it all they got right now to pump the dollar up, which will hurt the silver price, hurt the gold price. They're giving it, I don't know the movie, I'm not a movie guy, but there's that movie when the guy's on the ship or the plane or whatever, and he's got the throttle, he's like, I'm giving it all we got. They're giving it all they got. And let's remember, right, we still have $2,030 gold. We still have roughly $23 silver. Now, to me, short-term key levels that we want to make sure we see the metals hold, we want silver to stay above $22 per ounce. Look, right, like I said many times, we can guarantee very little in life, but we can guarantee that at some point the silver price is going to be either $4 lower, $19 per ounce, or $4 higher, $27 per ounce. That's going to happen. One of those will likely happen this year. I believe the odds are in our favor for the $27 per ounce silver, but we need to hold some key levels. And in my mind, $22 is a key level. Gold, obviously, $2,000. If they're beating, here's the takeaway, guys. Here's the big picture that you basement dwellers, you ladies and fellers, I'm only going to say that 6 more times during this broadcast, you basement dwellers. right? They're giving it all they got. They're pushing it down with all their might. The world, this guy, Greg Weldon, shared, I mean, the world is changing in a scary, scary way for the United States, okay? And if they're giving it all they got, and they can only, if they can't push gold below 2,000 yet, they can't push silver below 22. We're setting up, it's like a coiled spring, right? Don the Brain, last night, I was talking with him. He said, it's like if you're playing marbles and you keep pulling your finger back more and more and more. When it does let go, it's going to let go with a tremendous amount of energy. I know it feels like an overreaction that a lot of us are having right now. Like sentiment has kind of got not a complete punch. I would never punch you, but I punched that camera, right? You, the most important part of Ron's basement. We took a body blow in the last, let's say, 2 weeks. Not a complete drop kick down on the mat. We've taken a body blow. But there's something. Do you feel this? Is it just me? Maybe I'm a blind optimist. I don't think so, because smart people like this Greg Weldon, Peter Grandich, Lynette Zhang, Andy and the list goes on and on. They all think we're in for Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan. Yes, JP Morgan. They also think we're in for higher metals prices. It feels like we've been kicked in the stomach, but my gut, even though we got kicked in the stomach moderately, my gut tells me we're going to get it this year. We're going to get this fast up move in the metals. I could be dead wrong. Don't make any financial decisions based on anything that I'm saying today. Hey, let's point out real quick. This came from Pimbex. Okay. You can go on their website. It's called the 10-ounce Geiger bar. Look, I guess I can say this, but it doesn't matter. And it always makes me suspicious when people say, I'm telling you, I'll just have to, I gotta be honest with you. Not that I'm ever not honest with you, but this is one of the coolest silver products that I've ever seen. I am very tempted to buy one for myself because it is cool. Pimbex gave us that. Pimbex has all types of silver, gold, and platinum on their website. It's an online bullion dealer. Most of you have checked it out, right? Those of you that have done business with Pimbex, I get overwhelming positive responses. Thank you, right? We always say thanks, Pimbex, because you know what? You're getting the same high quality metal that you can get from the other big online bullion dealers, but you're getting it at a much lower price, which means you can get more metal for your money. Now, I don't usually do this, but I did go out to APMEX this morning. I saw this on Pimbex's website is being sold for, I think it was $280. Yeah, it was $280. And that's the cash price, ACH price, not credit card or whatever. But if you pay with ACH, it's about $280. I thought, I wonder what they're selling them for at AppMex. I went over there and it was $315. That's like $35 more. That means you could get the same the coolest silver product on the face of the planet from Pimbex, the exact same thing, and you could buy yourself an extra American Silver Eagle or something like that. Anyway, check out Pimbex, Pimbex. They're sponsor of the basement. I don't make a commission based on anything that you buy there or anything like that. They do sponsor the basement. I just genuinely think that is one of the coolest silver products that I've ever seen. All right, let's dig back in here. I have to say it. You gotta bear with me here, guys. But as we look at this big picture, thank you, Ron McAdams, for that super chat. I forgot to do the bell warning. We ring the bell 10 times when we get to 100 thumbs up. All right, I overdid it. I have a habit of overdoing things. Overall, we are living in an environment with a debt ticking time bomb. Okay. Commercial real estate. We are in a state of what people are calling extend and pretend. We are nearing the precipice. Okay. Where big big, scary things can happen. We're doing that in the United States when we're in the worst financial condition pretty much in the history of the country, right? We've got more debt. 34 trillion. You know the deficits. I read something last night. I don't know that they're 2 trillion they're thinking this year. I mean, it is unfathomable what is going on in this country right now. But we're doing that at this time where we're going into some of the biggest changes that we're ever going to see in the world. Extend and pretend. Everybody's asleep, right? Right? Now, Greg Weldon has, I think, one of the best examples, one of the best ways to understand this. And you can go back and watch some of his videos if you like, but I'll do my best to synthesize it for you right now. This guy, he provides research to big hedge funds, the most sophisticated people out there. It was a real treat that he came into the basement and that he shared all this information, which you'll be able to see in a future interview. But he said the analogy, the example he uses, like a bonfire, right? Like when the tech bubble burst, when the long-term capital management situation, every time over the last number of decades, the Fed came to the rescue and threw more onto the bonfire. We'll fix it, we'll throw more wood. And now we have this bonfire that is so huge and out of control, all this debt, all this monetary mismanagement. And it's not just the United States, it's really gone on all around the world. But think about a bonfire, and that's like the economy and all the debt and all that. And it's the world's biggest bonfire. It's hot, which kind of sounds good because a lot of us are dealing with cold weather right now. But nonetheless, is it cold where you are? If it is, let's all participate for a second. Hold on. I'm having technical problems. Bear with me. If it's cold where you are, why is that there? I don't like that. Hold on. Uh-oh. I hope you can still hear me and see me. If it's cold where you are, type a capital C in the chat. It is cold here in St. Louis, here in the basement, but we're going to heat things up because we're going to get some big major heat ups in the silver and gold price. Hold on. Oh boy. Technology, I tell you what. All right, there we go. Sorry about that, guys. Sorry about that. Now the fire has grown so big, and if you think about a bonfire, okay, a big, giant, massive bonfire. You throw the wood on, and it takes a while for it to catch. That's like the lag effect. That's the Fed, when they printed 40% of the dollars that had ever been printed in the history of the country. Are you kidding me? Okay, are you kidding me? They threw all this wood onto it caught, right? Now that's starting to die down. But to keep that bonfire, the thing is they've got to keep the bonfire as big as it is, or you get things like depressions or deflation, right? So to keep that bonfire, they got to throw more and more wood. When they throw more wood next year onto the bonfire, that will come in the form of money printing, liquidity, easy money, digital dollars. Some of us like to refer to it as unicorn fart dust. That's okay too, right? Make-believe money, right? Wizard of Oz, fantasy land. We're living in a fantasy land here in this country. Everybody is asleep. You're not, right? You've made that difficult decision to pull your head out of the sand and look at what's really going on here. My friend Don the Brain sent this to us. You're not a conspiracy theorist. You're a things aren't adding up and it's pretty obvious theorist. One of these days, I'm going to get some fancy technology so I can pull this stuff up, right? You're not a conspiracy. No. It's not working, okay? The economy is fragile, all right? Let's say this is not a political show. We're going to talk about former President Donald Trump, and we might mention current president, the man in charge, Joe Biden. But let me read you this, what former President Trump had to say, because it's pretty scary. Former President Donald Trump says he hopes that the economy crashes before he can serve his second term. Former President Donald Trump predicted the U.S. economy would crash, saying he hoped it would do so within the next year. before he would assume the Oval Office, were he to win in November. He says he doesn't want to be like Hoover. Hold on here. He says this in here somewhere. But bear with me. Bear with me. Okay. Trump, who regularly attacks Biden, yes, we know there's political discord in this country over his economic policies, described the economy as, quote unquote, so fragile in the interview and claimed it was, quote unquote, running off fumes. Okay. Now, the White House responded. I'm sure Joe drafted this response himself. It said, a commander-in-chief's duty is to always put the American people first, never to hope that hardworking families suffer economic pain for their own political benefit. That's according to Andrew Bates, a White House spokesperson. Quote, Republican officials should welcome the economic progress that President Joe Biden is delivering instead of revealing twisted true colors. Hold on. That would shrink the American middle class in the name of their own cynical self-interest. This is not a political show, but somebody needs to tell Joe at the White House that the American middle class is already shrinking in the United States. Are you part of the middle class? I'm part of the middle class. If you're part of the middle class, type M. I just did it. Right? Okay. The middle class is shrinking. The middle class is getting car insurance bills. Have you gotten a car insurance bill lately? They're like up 30, 40%. Have you gotten your taxes on your house? They're up like 30 or 40%. Have you been to the grocery store? Thank you, Metal Seer. It's working. It's working. Right? The middle class is shrinking in the United States. Period. Talk to somebody in the middle class. Again, not political. But, I think it's interesting that we have a former president who's recognizing that the economy is running on fumes. The wood that we threw into the bonfire 2 years ago is burning up, right? You've had fires before. They start to burn down. You got to put more wood in if you want to keep them burning. It's fragile right now, right? It is fragile. It's delicate right now. That's the reality of the situation, right? Are we living in a fantasy world? Should we be worried? Are we at risk? Yes, we are. Okay. What about the banking system? Greg Weldon shared some interesting insights on what's going on in the banking system. And what we need to remember is extend and pretend. Right? Massive amounts of commercial real estate loans are coming to maturity in the coming year and a half. Right? Guys, it is going to be a tidal wave of right now, they're all just living in fantasy land too, right? And the Fed's got the bank term funding program, bailout, okay, money printing by any other name, right? Right. And they're like, oh, well, we know that we've got this massive issue on our balance sheet with these loans on commercial real estate, but we're just not going to look at that right now. That doesn't happen. We'll sweep it under the rug. We'll deal with it some other time, right? It's going to get very, very interesting as we head into 2024, just based on what's going on here in the United States alone. We talk about the dollar. Okay, the dollar's been rallying lately. I didn't look at it today. The DXY index. Here's something that will absolutely, I'm going to tell you something about the dollar, the value of that paper money that you probably have some in your wallet. Maybe you've got big stacks. Maybe you're sitting on a pile right now watching, okay? But I'm going to tell you something about that US dollar that is going to absolutely blow your mind. But first, we had big news out of channel sponsor Fortuna this morning. Let me read this to you. They paid off almost over $40 million in debt. Okay, now Fortuna is already a company, and there's something about this that is super important to realize. They were already a company in strong financial shape. Very little debt, okay? Fortress balance sheet is what I've heard their CEO say in the past, right? They want to position this company to be able to do very, very well, to harvest great gains when we have much higher metals prices, but to be able to even thrive in the current environment, and if things do get challenging in the gold and silver environment, that they could survive. And they do that by keeping their debt to a minimum, by having a fortress balance sheet, by having efficient operations. Okay, so let's read this quickly. Fortuna is pleased to report the company has paid down an additional $41 million of its revolving credit facility at the end of the fourth quarter of 2023. Okay. At December 31st, it is expected that Fortuna's total outstanding debt balance will stand at approximately $165 million on its credit facility and approximately $46 million in convertible notes, for an estimated total net debt after cash, right, because they have a bunch of cash, of $83 million as of December 31st, 2023. This represents a reduction of approximately $50 million in total debt in the period. This is where it gets interesting, okay, even more interesting. That reflects cash flow contributions from the Séguéla mine in its second full quarter of production. So their new mine in West Africa, in the Ivory Coast, Côte d'Ivoire, is producing, apparently doing very well, producing a lot of profits and enabling them to pay off debt. This would be like you with your, I'm going to give you an example that might make sense to you in your household. Let's say you run a pretty conservative house. You try to stay away from debt, right? You have no credit card debt, no car debt. Let's say you got a house that's worth $400,000 and you owe $200,000 on your house, okay? And you've got some other assets. Altogether, all your assets are worth about, let's say, $1 million. You millionaire, you, right? But the only debt you have is that $200,000 you owe on your house, and things are going good at work this year, right? And your boss comes to you, and you're doing okay because you spend less than you bring in, right? You're already a person who's smart and stays away from debt. You have a fortress balance sheet on a personal level. But then your boss comes to you and says, we've done so great. You've been working so hard. We're going to give you a $50,000 bonus. And instead of taking that $50,000 and blowing it on something, you say, you know what? I'm going to pay off $50K from my mortgage, right? You're paying down your debt. So now I only have $150,000 in debt, but I still have my million, right? That's a good analogy, a good example to explain what Fortuna is doing. Fortuna Silver Mines, thank you for sponsoring Ron's Basement, okay? You can check them out at fortunasilver.com. All of this craziness, okay, that we're talking about, and Greg Weldon talked about how, you know, if you really try to back up all the money and debt in the world with gold, how we're talking mind-blowing figures to where the gold price should be. But all this is growing to a head right now, okay? And it's all happening while we've got major geopolitical turmoil going on. The Red Sea, right? Israel, Palestine, Lebanon, the whole Middle East situation is a powder keg right now. Okay, President Xi, this is for real, right? He said, did you hear this? I mean, does this scare you a little bit? It scares me a little bit that on New Year's, during his New Year's speech, he basically said, we're going to take Taiwan, like it or not. Apparently, when he was in the United States meeting with President Joe Biden, and hopefully President Biden heard him when he said this, he told Biden that they were going to take Taiwan by any means necessary. Guys, I had to take a quick little break here and have a sip of coffee. Don't forget, thumbs up, please. And we're going for 34,000 subscribers. It's some number that we came up with. Please subscribe to the channel. That's free as well. War in Europe, war in the Middle East, potential for war in Asia with China, the world's second biggest economy, the Red Sea shipping lanes essentially shut down, where 15% of the world's economy goes through the Red Sea, through the Suez Canal. This is real. This is something that we need to pay attention to, because it will, maybe not in the next minute, maybe not in the next day, not in the next week, but in the months and years to come, will have a big, big, big impact on the silver price, on the gold price. And that's what we do. That's why, one thing I know about you for sure, I have a good feel for you, the type of person you are. Right? You want to protect yourself. You want to protect your wealth. Right? You do that with investments in silver and gold. Some people don't like to call it investments. That's okay. Call it whatever you want. Hedge, however, insurance policy, whatever the case may be. I'm of the belief that we could see spectacular returns for silver and for gold. Real gains could be had, right? Especially, thank you, Metal Seer. Thank you for that super chat, my friend. Super generous. Cup of coffee, especially when people start to wake up, right? And it's going to happen all of a sudden. All right. Just remember these things happen in an instant, right? And then it's called a black swan. And then they say, oh, we should have seen that coming. We should have known, right? We should have known that $34 trillion in debt and a $2 trillion or whatever trillion deficit was going to blow up at some point. We should have seen that when half the world's population, the BRICS countries, are binding together with an explicit mission to move away from the US dollar, we should have seen it coming, right? Right? That's what's different about you. You do see it coming. Gold and silver will see it coming even before, right? Even before we do. Gold and silver look around the corner, right? They're a market that can see into the future. It will start to happen. It will start to happen soon, right? In my opinion, I don't have a crystal ball, right? I'm not giving financial advice. I'm sharing with you what I see, but it will start to happen soon. People are scared. People are confused and people are cautious. It's just starting to percolate right now, right? It's like when you're boiling a pot of water. You've done that before. And you start to see the little bubbles start on the bottom. Those little bubbles, right? Those first little bubbles, that's me and you, right? That's the silver and gold enthusiast. Then you start to see more little bubbles, and some of them barely start going up to the top. Those are the people that have started buying gold and silver at our old friend Costco, right? Hey, thank you for the super crafty stacker. Ron can't talk. Thank you for the super chat, right? Those are the bubbles that are starting, right? And then eventually you get a full boil. Thank you, STP Trader. Man, you guys are blowing me away. Thank you. Okay. And thank you guys for all the thumbs up. We will ring the cowbell at 200 thumbs up. When the full boil starts, you're done. You're out of the kitchen. You're like, I got what I need and I'm going to go hide out over here and weather out this storm. That's why I bought silver. That's why I bought gold. That's why I bought precious metal mining stocks, so that I could position myself for what I saw coming that nobody else saw coming. Sorry, there's no more room on the lifeboat, right? Like maybe we're at that stage right now of the Titanic where it's just starting to, and the smart people got on the lifeboats and got out of there while they could, right? When the boat is going up and down, there's no more room, unfortunately, right? And at that point, they'll be relying upon your generosity and goodwill to help people out. Again, I can't say for sure this is going to happen, but the convergence of factors that could occur in the next year, 2 years, 5 years, the convergence of geopolitical factors in the world that are every indication is that it's happening. We aren't hearing that about the only thing that we heard that took away from this bifurcation that's going on is that Argentina decided not to join the BRICS. But the overwhelming movement, the trend, the momentum is towards the world going through massive geopolitical change. Also, on a worldwide basis, the wars, which we've covered ad nauseum already, right? The Middle East, Europe are at war. Okay, let that sink in. We have a potential for big conflict in Asia. We got the North Korea, South Korea. I mean, there's a lot going on. The convergence of factors on a geopolitical worldwide basis is very important. Very, very important. Probably, you want to know a little secret? And we don't talk about this. We don't give this enough credit as silver and gold enthusiasts. We kind of get sucked into the little minutia, but the big world geopolitical changes is probably the biggest underlying trend and force that will push the silver and gold price to much, much higher levels. Think about this is fascinating to consider. This is music. This is like caviar for the silver and gold investor. We got the 200 thumbs up. I want to talk about the caviar. You know what? Yeah, let me ring the bell because I'll forget, and then Coin Shop Chris will get mad at us. We got 400 people here in the basement. Okay. Wow, you guys are awesome. Thank you for all the thumbs up. Hey, thank you. Thank you. Hey, our friend Daniel, when all else fails, take you to war. We're going to ring the bell, and we're going to come back with the caviar for you, silver and gold investors. Susie told me not to ring the bell too close to the microphone. And she's probably right, because you know what? After I ring that thing, my ears are ringing more than they normally ring. There's a lot of empty space up there. Caviar for you, right? Silver and gold investors. All right, you want some caviar? You're sophisticated. I'll give you some caviar. Okay, think about this. Think about this and we got to think on big picture, big scale, big price, big value changes. $500 silver? Really? Yes, really. Think about this on a big, big world scale. As the world is changing like never before, that's a fact. That you cannot argue, right? BRICS plus, war, all that, right? The world is moving away from allowing the United States to be the hegemony. I can't pronounce that word. I'll never be able to. The dominant power, we'll call it that. The hegemony, okay? The world is moving away from that. Yeah, BRICS plus, that's going on, all right? The problem is those countries, they're de-dollarizing. They're moving away from the dollar. That will put down the value of the dollar. That will devalue the dollar, right? That will make the dollar worth less. As that is going on, this is so important. There's a big picture, but so true. Those countries, they need something universal that they can agree on that will be the new hegemony, whatever that word is, the H word, dominant power of the world. It will likely be gold and silver, okay? Because they don't trust the United States, but think about this. They trust each other probably even less than they agree that they don't trust the United States, but at the same time, they don't trust each other. What do they trust? What do you think they trust? What's been around as value for 5,000 years? Right? What's survived every war, every political party, every economic system, every depression, every boom, right? Tulip bulbs didn't survive, right? Remember, tulip bulbs were a store of value. I guess fish were a store of value, right? There's been a lot of things that have come and gone. Oh, and a lot of paper currencies, right? The Deutschmark, all these things. What has survived? Gold. Now, does it make sense that at the same time, right, we are seeing record levels of gold purchases by the world central banks, right? These are the most sophisticated financial institutions. What if I told you, right? What if you were my neighbor? I apologize in advance. A lot of noise coming from my neighbor's basement, but you're my neighbor, right? We have a neighborhood swimming pool here in my neighborhood. And, everybody goes up there during the summer and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, We all know there's one guy in the neighborhood who's really smart, really rich, makes great investment decisions. He's an insider, right? And what if we're up there and we're talking with each other and I say, hey, did you hear? And his name is CB, okay, which stands for central bank. But nonetheless, his name's CB. And we say, hey, did you hear what CB's doing? CB's buying XYZ. You would pay attention because CB's sophisticated investor. He's an insider. Well, guess what? The world central banks are sophisticated. They are the insiders and they are buying gold, right? And if they're buying gold, that's good for silver. Absolutely. I missed a super chat. Metal Seer, Ron, write this down. Hegemony. 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 I'm going to keep working on it, Metal Seer. Thank you. And thank you for the super chat. This whole system potentially is on the verge of, I don't want to be a doom and gloomer, but you guys come to me for a risk assessment. And I think there's a big risk that the whole system could, I don't want to say blow up, but encounter some very, very difficult systems. The Fed is going into this year, right? We're 10 days in. The Fed is going into this year with a massively slowing economy. The bonfire isn't, when the bonfire is dying down. All right. Okay. While at the same time, the table is set. You come over to the house, Susie sets the dining room table up. It's absolutely beautiful. Okay. And it's set for inflation to kick in, like all the world stuff going on. Okay. Let's just make it real simple. All the crazy stuff going on in the world right now. All the bifurcation, all the war. Okay. Simple. I won't go down that path. All the crazy stuff going on domestically in the United States, monetary policy, fiscal policy, social issues, political issues. It is a setup, right? It's not going to take a lot to kick inflation in. So we got an economy that's going down and we have inflation that's here, but as they do things to stimulate the economy, that will push inflation through the, and then they're going to say, oh my God, we got to fight inflation. Well, the economy hasn't picked up. Well, still, it's a losing battle. They're in a box. It's a setup. It's what has been referred to many times as the most fertile ground for the precious metals prices. Guaranteed? No. But is the setup kind of almost blaringly obvious? Yes. Right? Are we early? Yes. Has the Fed been able to extend and pretend way longer than a lot of people, including me? I've been wrong. I've been early. If you're early, you're wrong. Okay? That's just it. So am I wrong? Yeah, I'm wrong. Right? I always tell you, my crystal ball got knocked off the ping pong table and broke. That's a true story. So, but is the setup there? Absolutely, right? Rick Rule says, I've been very good at, incorrectly predicting whatever it is about recession. Like it's impossible to get the timing to know. Don't confuse that which is inevitable with that which is imminent, right? Don't think that just because it's inevitable doesn't mean that it's going to happen. Doesn't mean it's going to happen this year. I think that I can't see how we're not getting there. Now, what's crazy interesting for us to consider, okay? Let's just back up to the middle of December. The Fed shocked the markets. Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve shocked the markets by what appears to have been a very dovish shift, right? Indications of interest rate cuts in this year. 2024, we're here, baby, right? It's not next year anymore, it's this year. So we have to ask ourselves, why did they do that? They did that because they know something, right? We know the banks are in trouble, but what does the Fed know? that's going on right now. Why did the Fed explicitly shift their stance back in December? Right? When we said, I still, it feels hard. It's hard for me to say this to you right now. It's very hard, but I started saying this back October-ish time frame. Go back, you can check me on it, that I feel like we turned the corner where the winds shifted within the metals markets. That's what we love. We know all the reasons why we buy the metals, but that the winds had indeed shifted, that we had entered a new, the tide has shifted, right? The tide now is going back the other way, right? And that, yeah, sure, we're going to get beat downs. We talked about that at the beginning of the show, right? We've had a beat down, not a horrific beat down. It actually feels way worse than it is, and that probably has to do with expectations. Expectations are premeditated, painful experiences, right? We all were thinking, oh, this is it. Remember, we had gold hit all-time highs, and remember that Sunday night, gold was $21.50. I remember Susie yelling at me, oh my God, gold is up, right? And then it got pulled back. We've been through the beatdown. Right? If they can't beat us down much further, right? What we've set in now is a floor, maybe $22 for silver, $2,000 for gold. It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. Hey, on behalf of Susie and myself, thank you guys for joining me. I almost forgot the most important part of the show. We got to say thank you to all the moderators. The moderators are great. Type 8, please. Craig Edmonds, Jake from Jake's Custom Parts, Coin Shop Chris, Jim M, Annie Oakley, and Sassy Silver. Those are the 5 most important names I need to realize. The next 5 important are the BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, but they don't even compare to those moderators, right? Do you know what the 5 additional countries are that joined BRICS? ICU. Iran, Saudi Arabia, Ethiopia, Egypt, and, what's the U? Oh, the United Arab Emirates. On behalf of Susie and myself, thank you. Okay, remember, right, this can feel crazy at times because it is crazy. But mathematics show no forgiveness on the altar of truth. And we have math on our side, but we also have each other on our side. You be well, and I'll see you tomorrow.